Hello everybody and welcome to my Silken Court Heroic Guide. It's a 3-phase fight with 2 intermissions, and the third phase is basically putting phase 1 and 2 together, and it's a bit of a burn as well. So what I would suggest on this fight is don't take 10 players. It makes the webs and the dispelling harder, yeah, pick people that do the mechanics that you trust. And essentially for us, when you're progressing the fight, just target the big bug guy first in phase 1, and then the slim bug guy second in phase 2. And don't worry about min-maxing, getting them on top of each other as much. Obviously that will help, but I would just focus on doing the mechanics first rather than trying to get your tanks to stack them, and it makes it a lot easier. So right at the start, you'll want to tank them on top of each other because you can and it's easy. The slimmer boss at some point will jump away, and then you just let that happen and carry on with the rest of the mechanics. So you can see that this mechanic here is called Venomous Rain. It's just a green circle around you, and basically if you multi-stack it, then it will go off on more than one person. What this means is they'll have 2 stacks instead of 1 stack, or 3 stacks instead of 1 stack, so it just becomes harder to heal. Then the boss is going to spawn some ads, and they basically take less damage at the beginning, and towards the end they become CC immune. You can see it here. Essentially just kill them, and don't keep them up too long, because every time they hit you they're going to make you take increased damage. So kite them, CC them to begin with, and then kill them. Quite a clear one, but worth pointing out anyway. There's a huge frontal. There it is. Don't stand in it or you get impaled and you have to get broken out. Okay, so just dodge it. Okay, so the main mechanic, or the main interaction, the little boss is going to spawn these webs. Okay, you're going to see here these webs are going to have these little circles in the center of them. What's going to happen is if someone walks into that circle in the center while somebody else is also stood in the web, you're going to get bound. Okay, so 2 players are going to get a web on them, you're going to be bound together, and that's very important for the last bit. The boss is going to disappear, go to the furthest point and charge. You see that orange line? That is the boss charging. You need to get 2 pairs of people, so 4 people overall, to get webs and stand in that line, and it will stop the boss. The boss will then take increased damage. You need to hit him and hit him and hit him. Okay, and that is the main mechanic of phase 1. So to show that a bit clearer here, you can see that basically we have 4 players with the web, and that is a boss's charge location, and it's going to go through both of those webs. There's 2 linked pairs, then it's going to get stuck, and then it takes increased damage, and you just need to be hitting that boss. Okay, so the main tank swap in this fight is just a piercing strike, where basically if you get hit by 2 of them, you're going to take increased damage. So when one of the tank gets hit by piercing strike, you swap. The other tank will be getting a poison bolt that turns into a volt bolt on them constantly, and essentially you just want to tank it. There's nothing you can really do about it. If you're in a real dire problem, you can dispel it, but it will just get applied straight away again. So with that one, just make sure you dispel it when you swap tanking, and if you're in a really bad position, ask for a dispel, because it can help just have it off you for a second or 2. Okay, so the intermission, you can clear these webs on the ground. There's no need for them to be up. Tank's probably a good person to do it. It's quite straightforward. There will be voidy webs that come out. Find a pattern, move into one once it pops. Don't get hit by them. If you do get hit by them, then basically you'll take a stacking debuff, and the next time you get hit by them, you'll take more damage. So it won't kill you the first time, but it'll put you out of position and could mess you up. And you need to break the shield. When you break the shield, you go into phase 2. Just to mention that the big bug boy won't be in this phase. It'll go under the ground, and you'll just be dealing with the skinnier bug person in this intermission. So then they'll both come back out, and essentially the big bug boy no longer does the charge. So great. He does gain 1 mechanic, however, that is a stinging swarm I'll go through, and then the other boss basically gets a few new mechanics that all interact with each other, kind of. So let's go through them. So the first one you'll see is this web vortex. You can see here the boss has connected all players by a web strand, and you're all going to get pulled in essentially. And then what will happen, it didn't work on BTR, but you'll all be connected by a web, and you'll need to break that web. Okay, but at the same time as that mechanic happening, you can see that there was a big AoE that you need to dodge. So basically get pulled in, run out of the AoE first and foremost, then break your web. Okay. It might be that you break your web by running out because you and your partner run in a different direction, but that's the general important point. Okay, so the main interaction on this phase is that you can see these 3 debuffs on my screen are called Stinging Swarm. and the big boss is going to put them on 3 random players. If you get Sting and Swarm, you can dispel it. If a mob or a player gets 3 stacks of Sting and Swarm them, they get Delirious, essentially. So what's going to happen is the boss is going to jump to the middle, and you're going to want your players to get dispelled next to the boss, so it goes onto the boss, and you have 1 stack, 2 stack, 3 stack. The boss becomes Delirious, takes a load more damage, and you nuke. The reason for this is because when the boss jumps in the middle, they're going to start a cast called Cataclysmic Entropy. If it goes off, you're going to wipe. So essentially, you need to interrupt it by getting 3 stacks of the debuff on them. If you're very, very quick, you can dispel 1 wherever they are, and then 2 when she's in the middle. But it's probably just best to do all 3 in the middle. It does do some damage when you dispel it, so mass dispelling could be spicy, but also could be fine. Depends on your setup and where you want to put your cooldowns. The next intermission is just a case of dodging spike storms from the big boss. It's basically the same as the first intermission, but now you're doing it for the other boss. Break the shields, don't get hit by the stuff on the floor. If you do get hit by the stuff on the floor, you're going to take more damage. So avoid that, and then you'll go into the last phase. Unfortunately, we were kicked out the instance before we got P3's footage, but essentially, you've got all the knowledge for P3. It's just doing P1 and P2 at the same time. So you have the charge mechanic, where you're going to need 2 pairs of people to get a web and stop the charge. Boss will take extra damage. You then have the Stinging Swarm mechanic, where you want to get the boss to jump into the middle and then dispel 3 Stinging Swarms on top of the boss, and the boss will take extra damage. It will be just a burn phase to kill off before you need to, worry about the stacking damage that there is from the swarm that the boss does in that phase. Should be fine. Should have all the knowledge you need, and good luck on the kill. As always, I'll update the comments with all of our stuff as and when we make it. And thank you for watching.